Hi guys, I hope you're having a good day today. If you're watching this screencast, that means you've completed all the other tasks on your task list, and now it's time for you to work on your social studies Sparta and Athens essay. And I'm going to apologize to start with, starting to get a little bit of a cold, so I'm sure my voice sounds a little annoying and I'm a little sniffly, but I'm going to do my best here. So before we get started, I want to talk about the difference between revising and editing. We're going to focus on revising today. Editing is looking at errors in our writing, things that are actually wrong, mistakes in capitalization, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. We will do that when we're all done with our essay. We might find some editing things along the way, but that's not going to be really our focus today. Today we're going to focus on revising our transitions, looking at adding transitions if they look to make our writing sound more fluent, removing transitions if they're not needed, moving sentences around possibly to change where phrases and clauses are to make them more descriptive, and substituting, maybe noticing that I've used the same transition over and over again, and what can I do to substitute a different one. So to recap what a transition is, we're looking at words, phrases, and clauses that connect ideas together to make our writing sound more fluent, make it flow a little bit better. We find them at the beginnings of sentences, and when we find them, we have to put a comma after them. That's just one of the tools that's needed to separate and show your reader where your thought ends. So we've got different types. The one that I've seen the most here are adverbs. Those are the one-word transitions that I'm trying to get you to move away from. They're not bad, but we as 7th graders need to be writing a little bit more maturely, and so we don't want to use just adverbs. We want to move away from saying one, first, next, then, another, also, finally. We can try infinitives. We've talked about infinitives, to plus a verb. We could find an infinitive phrase to put at the beginning of a sentence. We have a list of 50-some prepositions, so we could put a prepositional phrase at the beginning of a sentence. And then we haven't talked too much about dependent clauses, but if you look at the poster that's hanging by the door, there's a list of all of our whoopuses there. And those are excellent ways to add transitions. Those add a lot more description to your writing and add a lot more detail. So you could try them. A lot of you are already using them. You probably just don't realize it. So at this station, tomorrow you're going to do a couple of other stations to work on your essay. For this one, you're going to follow along with the screencast, pause it as needed so that you can work on your essay. I'm going to model it a little bit with a paragraph here in a second. The first step you're going to do is bold print your transitions. After you have them all bold printed, you're going to read your sentence and listen, first of all, to see, does it make sense in the sentence? Sometimes transitions aren't going to work the way you want them to. It has to sound natural, like you're speaking. So make sure that it makes sense when you read it back to yourself. You need to decide if you need a comma. You should hear a pause after your transition, and that will tell you whether or not you need a comma. Some of our one-word transitions don't need them. So if you're using words like one or another, sometimes those don't need a comma. And then you're going to check to see if you have a mixture of adverbs, prepositional phrases, and clauses. And if you need some ideas later on, you can go back here and click this link for some transition examples. And I have this presentation linked here on, if you look over on Friday, you'll be able to see it. It's cut off here, but if you look on Friday, you'll see, revising stations, and that's a place where you can find this presentation. Okay, and then last of all, sometimes sentences themselves can be transitions. Those are sometimes used in your concluding sentence of a paragraph, your summary sentence, depending on how you write it. Sometimes those can lead into your next thought. So what I have here is a paragraph that a student wrote a few years ago on an essay about Greek mythology. And I'm just going to go through and look for just the transitions that this student used. This is the first thing I'll do with your essay when I get it, is I'll take out a highlighter and start highlighting all your transitions. So you'll see I'm looking at the beginnings of sentences. These transitions don't have to be here. I could take them out in most cases, and the sentence would be fine, but it would just be a little bit choppy. I'm going to use final here. I know it's not the first word, but I can tell it's being used as a transition. All right, so now I want you to take a look at this and see, what do you notice about these transitions? Hopefully, you're noticing that one is used too much, number one. We've got it in the first, second, and third sentence of this paragraph all begin with the word one. And that's kind of two violations. It's a one-word adverb, and there's no variety there. It's the exact same word. I also see down here I have in Greek mythology, in our language. So this is another area that I'm going to want to go back to and make some changes. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these one-word adverb transitions. So I'm going to want to change some of these around. So let's see. Looking at this first one, one way we use this mythology every day is in our language. So this is the claim sentence for the paragraph. I'm going to change this to maybe to begin with, because this is the first body paragraph. To begin with, I'm going to put my comma there. Another thing I'm noticing in here is that we've got a first person pronoun here, we and our, and we really don't want to use those. We want to state this in a third person, kind of matter of fact way. So I'm going to reword this. To begin with, looks like my topic here is language. I don't want to delete all that till I know exactly what I want to say. To begin with, language is impacted daily by Greek mythology. Let's see how that looks. So I got rid of some of the first person pronouns, and I changed my transition. So I've got a couple of different things that I revised here to make it sound better. Now I could go back and change. I'm going to change one of these ones, and I know I'm going to go back and change it. Definitely this in Greek mythology and one of these, because I don't want two transitions in the same paragraph beginning with in. So what I want you to do with your essay is kind of do this. If you point them out to yourself in this way, make them stand out a little bit so that when you look back at your writing, you kind of can see the whole picture, and work on just making some changes. And again, there's a page here. If you click this link, it's going to show you a bunch of different transitions that you could use. And of course, it's going to work really slow. So I'm just going to end this and let you figure it out on your own. If you have any questions throughout the day, though, please email me, or tonight. I'll have my email out. And if you'll have some class time tomorrow and probably a little bit on Monday as well to work on some of the revising and editing. Okay? Have a good day.